I want to begin with the truth. I can't keep quiet anymore. You were not made to coast through life. You were made to carry fire. You were not made to simply wake up, check your phone, chase deadlines, and fall into bed empty. You were made for something greater, for the eternal, the unshakable, the divine. I know what it feels like to live numb, to feel like you're drifting, even when everything around you looks fine on paper. I've been there, successful on the outside, but hollow on the inside. You smile, but your soul is aching. You're moving fast, but you've lost direction. And somewhere deep inside, you're wondering, is this it? Let me tell you something I've had to learn the hard way. God is not a distant thought. He's the very oxygen of your soul. If you're suffocating spiritually, it's not because He's far away, it's because you've been holding your breath, living off the shallow fumes of a world that can never satisfy. And maybe you've been told that hope is just for dreamers, for the weak who can't face reality. But I'm telling you the opposite. Hope is holy defiance. It's the fierce, steady hand that reaches through the fog of this world and lays hold of eternity. It's not escapism, it's direction. It's not about ignoring the world, it's about engaging it with eyes fixed on the kingdom that cannot be shaken. C.S. Lewis said it better than I ever could. Hope is not wishful thinking, it's one of the theological virtues. In other words, it's something we're commanded to cultivate, not just to get by, but to live with purpose. Because if we lose sight of heaven, we will lose our grip on earth. Look back at history. Read the stories of the saints. The people who shook the world weren't the ones obsessed with comfort. They were the ones obsessed with glory. The apostles turned the Roman Empire upside down not because they played it safe, but because they were willing to die for a kingdom they couldn't see but believed in with everything they had. Abraham left everything to follow a voice he couldn't explain. Paul gave up power and prestige to preach a message that got him beaten, shipwrecked, imprisoned, and still he sang. And Jesus, our Savior, our King, He endured the cross because of the joy set before him. I'm not preaching fantasy. I'm calling you to reality, the realest thing there is. You were made for more than surviving the week. You were made to be a light in the darkness. You were made to live with holy urgency. And if not now, when? If not you, who? This moment is not random. You're not hearing these words by accident. This is your wake-up call, your invitation, your commissioning. You were made for more. I used to believe, maybe like some of you, that thinking too much about heaven would make me useless down here on earth. That somehow, if I lifted my eyes too high, I'd trip over the needs right in front of me. But I've come to see just how backward that is. It's not the heaven-minded who check out of the world, it's the earth-bound. It's those with no eternal perspective who get swallowed up in comfort, distraction, and compromise. The people who change the world are the ones whose hearts beat for the next one. Let's talk about facts. Do you want to know who overturned the Roman Empire? It wasn't politicians, it wasn't philosophers. It was fishermen, tent makers, martyrs, men and women who had seen something so real, so eternal, they were willing to be crucified, burned, torn apart for it. The apostles didn't carry swords, they carried resurrection. And it flipped the powers of hell on their heads. You want to talk about impact? Go ahead and study the abolition of slavery. You'll find names like William Wilberforce, a man who was mocked, opposed, even crushed in spirit, but who fought because he knew the worth of a soul was eternal. He didn't just believe in justice, he believed in heaven, and it gave him steel in his spine. And what about those missionaries, the ones who left home, comfort, reputation, sometimes even knowing they'd die on foreign soil? Why did they go? Because they saw beyond the visible. They knew the value of time because they'd tasted eternity. They knew the gospel was not just a philosophy, it was the power of God unto salvation. Let me ask you, what are you aiming at? Because Jesus didn't stutter in Matthew 6 when he said, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, but store up for yourselves treasures in heaven." Why? Because where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Not might be, will be. The problem with so many of us is we've invested our whole lives in fading things. We've put our heart into bank accounts, job titles, and Instagram followers. But let me tell you, none of that will matter a second after you stop breathing. You'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. Only what's done for Christ will echo into forever. And hear me, this isn't a call to escape the world. It's a call to invade it with heaven. Eternity doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful. When you realize this life is short, you stop wasting it. When you see that heaven is real, you start living like your choices matter. You start praying harder, loving deeper, serving louder, standing bolder. Heaven doesn't make you soft. It sets you on fire. So don't fall for the lie that eternity is for dreamers and mystics. Eternity is for soldiers, for builders, for saints who know the mission is real and the clock is ticking. You want to make a difference? Then fix your eyes higher, aim at heaven, and you'll pull earth upward with you. I've had moments in life where I thought I had arrived, when everything I thought I wanted was finally in my hands. And yet, even in the middle of the so-called perfect moment, there was a whisper in my soul that said, "This isn't it." Have you ever felt that? I remember one trip I took, everything was right. The flight landed on time, the hotel was stunning, the scenery looked like it had been pulled straight from a dream. My spouse was with me. The food was exquisite. I laughed, I rested, I posted the pictures, and yet, when I laid my head down on that plush hotel pillow, I felt it. That ache, that silence, that empty echo in the soul that no five-star experience could fill. That's what C.S. Lewis meant when he said, "Something has evaded us." Friend, this is the illusion of fulfillment. This is the chase of every human heart. We are told, find the right relationship and you'll be whole. Or, climb the ladder, get the promotion, book the trip, buy the house, and finally you'll feel alive. And yet, even when we do catch the thing, it slips through our fingers like sand. And we think, maybe next time, maybe if it's a better relationship, a better trip, a better job, a bigger platform. But what if the problem isn't the quality of what we're chasing, but the nature of it? What if this world was never meant to satisfy you? Lewis said it plainly, and I've clung to this line more than once. If I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. We are not ungrateful, we are unfulfilled, because there's a hunger in you that this world can't feed. There's a thirst in you that no drink can quench. And listen, that ache, it's not a curse. It's a compass. It's the voice of eternity whispering, you were made for more. Let's be honest, the longing shows up in strange places. That quiet moment after a great night with friends. That silence between achievements. That strange emptiness after romance fades, or the music ends, or the applause dies down. It's not that the things were bad, it's that they weren't enough. And if you're nodding right now, if you're whispering to yourself, I know exactly what you mean, then lean in, because this is where the enemy loves to play dirty. He'll offer you another thrill, another escape, another shot at the rainbow's end, but it's fool's gold. It shines, but it doesn't satisfy. Chasing the world will always leave you breathless and barren. I've met too many people burned out by the climb, broken by the pursuit, convinced that they're just doing it wrong. But friend, the truth is, you're not doing it wrong. You're chasing the wrong thing. You were never meant to find your wholeness in the fleeting. You were designed for the eternal. And until your soul is anchored in the eternal, Everything else will feel like a shadow of joy, not the source. So I'm not here to shame your hunger. I'm here to call it holy, because your desire for more is not weakness, it's worship waiting to happen. Let the ache drive you to the one who satisfies. Let the hunger lead you to the bread of life. Let the longing stretch your arms toward heaven, not just someday, but now. The world will keep whispering, one more step, one more thrill, one more fix. But Jesus is whispering something greater. Come to me. And if you come, if you finally stop chasing smoke and start seeking the substance, you won't just find comfort, you'll find home. Let's talk about that ache we just unpacked, the one we feel when even our best moments leave us with a strange emptiness, that soul-level hunger that doesn't go away. We all feel it, but how we respond to it, that's what separates destiny from despair. C.S. Lewis nailed it when he said we're all crying for something more like souls crying for the moon. And when that ache gets loud, we usually go one of three ways. The first way, the fool's way. This is the path I knew well. It's the path of the serial thrill seeker. The fool thinks the ache can be fixed with another hit, another experience, another toy, another lover, another stage. He blames the things that didn't work, and so he replaces them. That marriage didn't satisfy? Try a new one. That job didn't fulfill? Quit and find something more exciting. That church didn't feel good? Bounce to another one. He keeps chasing, keeps believing that the next thing will finally fill the void, but it never does. Why? Because he's asking creation to do what only the Creator can. The second way? The disillusioned way. This one might be even sadder, because this is the man or woman who once felt the ache, but now denies it. They've been burned too many times. They've seen the dreams fade, the promises fall short, and so they harden. They say things like, "You'll understand when you're older," or "It's childish to want so much from life." They settle. They stop expecting beauty. They give up hope, not out of wisdom, but weariness. Lewis described them too, the ones who repress the cry for the moon, convincing themselves they never really wanted it to begin with. They've stopped reaching because it hurts too much to reach and come up empty. But friend, there is a third way, a better way, the Christian way. And this way doesn't ignore the longing, it honors it. It doesn't chase or numb the ache, it listens to it. Because this kind of longing is sacred. It's the echo of Eden. It's the scent of home still clinging to our souls. The Christian doesn't deny the ache or stuff it down with comfort. The Christian says, "This hunger points me somewhere. This thirst means there's water. This cry means there's a song I was born to sing." We are not crazy for wanting more. We are created for more. And I get it. Some of you are tired. You've chased until you're breathless. You've hoped until it hurt. And maybe, just maybe, you're tempted to shut it all down and settle into a numb, manageable life. But can I beg you not to? Don't make peace with the ache. Don't turn it off. Let it drive you to the cross. Let it drive you to the arms of a Savior who didn't come to tease you with peace. He came to become your peace. A Savior who knows your longing because He planted it there. The world is loud. The distractions are many. But somewhere underneath it all, eternity is still whispering your name. That's why the longing is so deep. It's not a design flaw, it's your compass. And the direction it's pointing, it's not toward the next thrill or the next numbing cycle. It's toward Jesus. So don't be the fool. Don't be the cynic. Be the seeker. Be the one who dares to aim higher. The ache in your soul isn't your enemy. It's the echo of heaven calling you home. I've wrestled with that ache deep inside, the one no success, no relationship, no vacation could ever touch. Maybe you've felt it too, that persistent, haunting feeling that says, there's more than this. And I used to think it was weakness. I used to think the ache was something to overcome, a flaw to outgrow. But now I believe something very different. Now I see it for what it truly is, a whisper from another world. C.S. Lewis said it like this: if I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. That sentence hit me like a freight train, because it explains what nothing else ever could. The reason nothing here ever truly fills us is because we weren't made to stay here. Hunger points to food, thirst points to water. So what does eternal longing point to? Heaven. It's so simple, and yet it changes everything. I mean, think about it. A baby is born with the instinct to suck, and there's such a thing as milk. A duckling wants to swim, and there's such a thing as water. That desire is the fingerprint of design. And the deep longing in your soul, it's not an accident. It's evidence. You were not made to rust with the world. You were made for glory, not for the dust, but for the divine. Not just to exist, but to be remade into the image of your Creator. The ache inside you is not your enemy, it's your invitation. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He has set eternity in the human heart. It's been there since the beginning, but most of us try to satisfy it with things that were never meant to carry that weight. We try to stuff eternity into a weekend getaway. We pour forever longing into temporary thrills. But earthly pleasures were never meant to satisfy us. They were meant to arouse us, to awaken our sense of what is real. Lewis calls them echoes, copies, mirages. The way a mirage hints at water but can't quench your thirst. The way a song reminds you of a home you've never been to, but somehow already miss. And it's not wrong to enjoy these things, no. Pleasure is a gift, but it becomes a curse when we ask it to do what only heaven can. Listen to me. This world is not your home. That's why the best things in life still leave you reaching for more. It's why the greatest accomplishments still leave a quiet emptiness when the applause fades. It's why even the purest love on earth can't hold a candle to the love you were made for. I'm telling you, you were made for something more, something bigger, something eternal. And I know what the enemy wants. He wants you so focused on this life that you forget the next. He wants you so content with imitation that you never seek the original. But I won't let that happen on my watch. Not while I still have breath. Because you weren't made for shallow living, you were made to walk in glory. So hear me today. Don't smother that ache. Don't silence it. Let it sing. Let it drive you to your knees. Let it push you to worship, to seek, to hope, and to press on. Because if the ache is real, then so is the answer. And that answer is not a better job, not a perfect relationship, not a quiet retirement. The answer is a kingdom, a king, a glory that will never fade. You were made for another world, and every heartbeat is heaven calling you home. There is a fire in you. Maybe it's small right now, maybe it's barely flickering. Maybe you remember a time it burned hotter, brighter, with tears in your eyes and purpose in your chest. But somewhere along the way, the wind blew cold, life got busy, you got tired, and the flame that once lit up your soul, it's dimmer now. I know, I've been there. And if I'm honest, I've watched the fire die down more times than I'd like to admit. But let me tell you something I've learned in the dark. Desire is a sacred thing, and if you don't guard it, the world will smother it. The Apostle Paul wrote to Timothy, "Fan into flame the gift of God that is in you." 2 Timothy 1-6. Why would he say that? Because he knew something we often forget. Fire doesn't keep burning on its own. You have to feed it. You have to guard it. You have to fight for it. C.S. Lewis said, "I must never let it get snowed under or turned aside. And oh, how easy it is to let the snow fall, isn't it? We don't even mean to. But slowly the layers build up. First comes busyness, a calendar full of obligations, work that never ends, emails, notifications, endless to-dos, and you promise yourself, I'll make space for God tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week, and next week becomes next year. And one day you look up and realize the flame hasn't been fed in a very long time. Then comes noise, endless scrolling, background music, news, entertainment, talking heads, 1,000 voices shouting over the still small voice of God, and the desire, that holy longing for eternity, gets drowned out in static. And then there's success. Yes, even the good things can bury the best thing. A raise, a reputation, a house you prayed for, a season of favor. But what good is it to gain the whole world and lose your flame? And finally there's cynicism, that bitter lie that says, don't expect too much, don't hope too hard, don't long for heaven, just get by. That lie is the snow that suffocates, the numbness that freezes desire in its tracks. But friend, I'm telling you now, with everything in me, don't let it happen. Don't let the flame go out. You were made for more than comfort and control. You were made for communion with the living God. That ache in your soul is still there because heaven still calls your name. And today, right now, is your moment to rekindle the fire. Get away from the noise. Find a quiet place. Open your Bible like it's oxygen. Turn off the phone. Step into worship not because you feel like it, but because your soul needs it. Breathe, pray, listen, fan the flame. Do you remember what it felt like to weep in His presence? To tremble with awe? To burn with purpose? That's not gone. It's not too late. But you have to protect that spark. Because if the devil can't destroy you, he'll distract you. If he can't steal your salvation, he'll steal your passion. Don't let him. Guard the flame. Let it grow. Because a single spark, protected and fed, can set your whole world ablaze. And when it does, when the flame becomes fire again, you won't just remember who you are. You'll remember what you were made for. You know what frustrates me? It's when people roll their eyes at heaven. You bring up eternity and someone smirks. Gold streets, harps, floating on clouds forever. They dismiss it like it's a cartoon. And if we're honest, some of us have silently wondered the same. We've let the world's mockery dull our sense of majesty. But hear me, heaven is not silly. It's sacred. And if we think it sounds foolish, the problem isn't heaven. It's our imagination that's underdeveloped. C.S. Lewis said it plainly, if they cannot understand books written for grown-ups, they should not talk about them. That's not arrogance, it's clarity. Because heaven is not childish, it's too weighty for shallow minds. The Bible speaks in symbols not to confuse us, but to lift us. Harps, crowns, gold, thrones, music. These are not literal checklists for your afterlife wardrobe. They are the best words we've got to hint at something too big, too beautiful, too bright for our language to carry. Think about it, why mention music? Because in this life, music is one of the few things that gives us a taste of the infinite. That moment when a chord drops and your heart lifts, that's not just emotional, that's eternal echo. Heaven sounds like that, only clearer, only purer, only forever. And gold? Not because God's obsessed with jewelry, but because gold is precious, pure, unchanging. It doesn't rust, it doesn't rot, and that's the point. Heaven doesn't corrode. Glory doesn't expire. Crowns aren't about ego, they're about honor. The kind of honor that comes when God Himself says, well done. a reward not for status, but for surrender. These images, these symbols, they're shadows of splendor, not the substance itself. But don't miss this, the shadows are glorious. Imagine what the reality must be. Let's stop mocking the metaphors and start marveling at the mystery. God used the language of poetry, not because he's vague, but because eternity is too massive to fit into prose. So let your heart lean in, let your imagination catch fire again. This is not fiction, it's foreshadowing. You were made to behold beauty that human eyes have never seen, to feel joy too wide for your nervous system, to contain, to live in a love so fierce and full, it will take all of eternity just to begin exploring it. And when the world laughs, let them, but don't let their laughter cost you your longing. Because heaven isn't childish, it's the final crescendo, and one day, by grace, we'll step into the song. I don't know what road brought you here. I don't know what pain you've carried or what hopes you've buried, but I know this. You were made for another country. This world isn't the end. It's the beginning. It's not the home, it's the hallway. And every heartbeat, every hard choice, every act of faith, it's shaping the direction of your soul. Not just for a decade, not just for a legacy, but for eternity. We've talked about heaven. We've talked about longing. We've talked about how earthly pleasures whisper, but only God satisfies. Now here's the question. What will you do with that truth? I'm not here to entertain you. I'm not here to coddle you. I'm here to call you to rise, to move, to run for home. Because, friend, the war is real. The king is near, and the time is now. You say, I've made mistakes. So have I. But grace is bigger than your mess. You say, I don't feel worthy. None of us are, but he is, and he calls you anyway. You say, it's too late. Number, if you're breathing, it's not too late. Don't waste another day chasing what can't hold you. Don't settle for sleepwalking through your one and only life. C.S. Lewis said it with the clarity of eternity. I must make it the main object of life to press on to that other country and help others do the same. Not a side project, not a Sunday hobby, the main object. So I'm asking you right now, what's your main object? What owns your time, your energy, your heart? Because if it's not heaven, if it's not him, you will miss the very thing your soul was created for. Fix your eyes on the kingdom. Press on not just for yourself, but to help others find the way. We are pilgrims, we are warriors, we are carriers of fire. And the call is not comfort, it's mission. Run like someone who knows this world is fading. Love like someone who knows every soul matters. Serve like someone who hears the clock ticking. Don't wait another day. Let this be the moment when heaven breaks through, when your feet find their strength again, when you look up and remember where you're going. Home, that's where we're headed. So run. Run for joy, run with purpose, run for souls, run for home.